Hello and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Wednesday, the 12th, 12th of April. Um, I'm going to ask a question, and I know this is going to be controversial. I know there are going to be people who will be really frustrated with me and probably angry, and that's okay. I kind of enjoy that because it means it's making people think. But I'm going to back up a second and explain why. Sometimes some of you know that I meditate every morning. I take the first 10 minutes after, I've had my shower, my first sip of coffee. I sit in the dark with a candle. Not so much dark anymore because the light's already up by 6 o'clock, but I meditate. I take 10 minutes to I set my timer, and I just close my eyes and be. And quite often, um, God, as creator, spirit, and son, comes to me, and I sit usually around a fire, and we just are together. And last week or so, when I've been meditating, God has always sort of appeared to me, since I've been doing this, as an elder, a male elder, an indigenous elder. I don't know why. And the spirit appears to me as an eagle, and the sun is the sun. It's sort of hard to break the traditional understanding or thinking about what Jesus looks like. Um, the last week or so, the creator has been presenting God's self to me as a female elder. It's been kind of cool. Or maybe not so much an elder. And I'm thinking part of this is from The Shack. If you've ever watched the movie The Shack, you'll remember that woman who kind of reminds us of Aunt Jemima. That a black woman played the role of God. And so this female representation of God that has been joining me, or I've been joining the last week or so, um, is sort of a cross between the God from The Shack and a female elder. I can't really explain it better than that. But last Thursday, on Monday, Thursday, when I was meditating, something very strange happened. Strange, beautiful, like strange, but comforting. When I sat down or was realized, okay, here I am, I'm around the fire. Lately, it hadn't been the fire, so it was something else altogether, a labyrinth. But we're back by the fire. The spirit is there. God, the sun is here. And God was there, but God was both elder male and elder female. There were two incarnations of Creator beside me. And it felt so incredibly comfortable. It felt so warm and beautiful because those aspects of God that I think of because I was trained that way. We anthropomorphise God, whether we like to admit it or not. That's just the way we think. Our Bible is written he all the time. So, and all my growing up years, I thought of God as he. Like if I needed to use a pronoun, it was he. And of course, last week, God has been she. But here today, there was he and she. And there was a sense of, on Thursday, there was an incredible sense that the whole of God's being, those attributes that we think of as more masculine, and those attributes we think of as more feminine, but which we acknowledge are all part of God's being, were present to me in the forms of these two elders, male and female elders. And then a thought popped into my head, and this is the controversial thought. What if God is trans? Like, what if God is not he, is not she? Like, what if God is he, she? What if God is trans? Now, of course, the first argument is that we are not supposed to be anthropomorphize God in any way, shape, or form, male, female, or otherwise. God is not like us. There is the whole thing about we were created in God's image. Topic for another day, maybe. But let's not make the argument. Okay, so yes, I acknowledge that we are not supposed to anthropomorphize God. In the ideal situation, I should not be thinking of God in any gender, male, female, neutral. Like I shouldn't be thinking about God that way. Okay, there you go. Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa. Now that I've set that aside, let's think about that. If a trans person is, for instance, say a trans person, say the person standing in front of me I was talking to was trans, was, for all intents and purposes, looked like a male, had all of the male parts, testosterone, wedding tackle, as my husband refers to it, all of the male genitalia, all of the male things, and appeared to be a man. But truly, inside that person who looked like a man, they believed and knew themselves to be a woman. So Physically male, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, psychologically female. Trans. Both. Man and woman. Now, for those of you who know better than me and understand better, I am not trying to minimalize or simplify something that cannot be understood. Truly, I'm not. I'm just trying to have a conversation about this. So please bear with me. So, if indeed I were to look at a person and recognize that while they currently have the outward and physical signs of being male, but the inward and spiritual part of them is female, or vice versa, then that person was trans. What about God? We think of a God, and because we do, a lot of us, most of us, if we're honest, think about God in some form of personhood. And even if we don't now, even if we are so spiritually and mystically, mature that we no longer anthropomorphise God, God bless you if you are able to do that, because I'm not there yet. But at some point in our lives, we have all come across the need to grow beyond that, to get to there. We've come from a place where God has been like us, a person, okay, a body with character traits and physical traits and things like that, the way we think about God. So, what if God is trans? What if God is fully human, or Jesus was fully human and fully divine? If we can understand that, what if God is fully male, fully female, fully other, fully all of these things, all of the different incarnations that there could be? What if God is trans? What would that do to our understanding of how we see one another? If we were to overnight all wake up and realize God is trans, would we then, how would we not change the way we treat other people? There would be no more misogyny. There would be no more putting women down because they don't have the God-given right to be breadwinners or priests or decision makers or politicians, because they are women, they are less than, because God would be fully female. And women and others who do this couldn't then, you know, tar and feather the whole of the male species because they're they're horrible and they're mean and they're overbearing and they treat women like crap and all those things that some women and other people do to men. Because by doing that, we would be then implying that God did all those things. And we know that God doesn't do all those things. If God is trans, in our thought experiment of the day, if God is trans, it would completely it would completely necessitate the reform of how we think about one another. Because too many people do, whether they realize it or not, and some people are proud of it and talk about it, we take the way we take our thoughts of who God is and what God looks like and how God acts and thinks, and that we use that as our justification for how to treat other people. We treat women or we treat people who look differently than we do because we believe that God looks like us. We believe that God is a man, God is male, and God has divinely set up these different standards, these levels of strata of where people rank here. What if God was like, no, 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 no. I am trans, I am Hispanic, I am indigenous, I am Caucasian, I am Occidental, I am all of these things all at once. Get over it. Level playing field. I am trans, transsexual, trans ethnic, trans, you name it. I did it again. You name it, God is trans. What would the world look like if we miraculously woke up tomorrow and believed that? Now, the miraculously waking up tomorrow all believing that wouldn't happen. And I can only imagine what the world would look like if all of a sudden great masses of us were to stand up and say, we need to fight for our right to believe that God is trans and to speak that way, because there's enough problems right now with people thinking that God has to be male and lorded over women, and all the other crap that comes with the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant version of God, sitting old man with a long white beard sitting up on a high chair in heaven. We have enough wars caused by that image alone. Well, imagine if people raised up and said that God was trans. But I do think that that image I had on Maundy Thursday, an interesting image to have on that day, being the beginning of the Paschal Triduum, the beginning of transformation, the beginning of everything changing. What if that is closer to truth than imagining God as man or woman? It's just something to think about. What do you think? Please be gentle in your thoughts, okay? Have a good Wednesday, and I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.